Hi everyone, welcome to this session about half double in the portfolio. My name is Michael Ehlers and I'm a partner in Implement Consulting Group. I've been partner in Implement for the last 14 years, working with projects and portfolios. I'm also the project manager of Half Double and have been running the Half Double initiative for the last 5 years. And I'm pretty excited today to present to you the Half Double portfolio, which we are just about to introduce. Together with me on this session, I have Allan from Proactive.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Allan Rocha. I'm a Director of Project Operations and Services at Proactive, part of the Fellowmind Group. Like Michael, I have been on the project field for quite some time, over 17 years, and it's more than a pleasure for me to be here today showing you a very interesting case with Microsoft platform in the Half Double for portfolio. See you soon.
We will exactly see you soon, Allan, because I will run through the agenda now, and Patrick here will help me to put on the agenda. And seeing from your perspective, you'll see me on the camera, but as you saw here, I have Allan in the room with me, and he'll be helping me on introducing Half Double in the portfolio. I also have on the other side, I have Patrick with me. Patrick will be handling the technical side and also chat, and if you have issues, then he will be the one responding to some of those things. So in this session, we will start with giving you an introduction to the Half Double portfolio approach. I will run through that overall approach, and then you will have the opportunity to ask questions as we move along. You will find a button in the bottom of your screen where you can, well, it will say Q&A. And if you press that button, you can write questions to the Half Double portfolio approach. And we will use some time to try to answer some of those questions as the second part of this agenda. We will, after a few questions, move on to Allan, who will introduce the Microsoft PPM tool and also the GlobalConnect case to see how we have applied the Half Double portfolio approach in real life with a real life company. Then again, you will have opportunities to ask questions as you move along, and Allan will help us to answer some of those questions. I will end off the session and conclude a bit, and all this will go for as far as 1.5 hours. So please hold on, and we'll try to interact with you with a few polls along the way. We know it is some time, but please bear with us, and we hope that you'll find it interesting to follow us all along. Super. Let me dive right into it. And let me just give you a few numbers about Half Double before I talk about the portfolio concept. As you might know, Half Double started with this 30% number. These are the number of projects that are currently considered successful, and we wanted to increase the success rate of projects. We would like to leverage this number from 30, let's say, to 40, because that could really make a huge difference in the way that we do projects today. And so far, with the Half Double project methodology, we have actually proved that it works in projects. We have assigned a research team who have looked into the 16 pilot projects that we have used with where we have developed the methodology and applied the methodology to. And in 87% of the cases, the actual success criteria were realized in the projects. And please bear in mind, the 87% success rate here would be related to real business issues, meaning, for instance, we have created an impact in the market by increased revenue or reduced the time to market or lowered actual cost. So in 87% of the cases, we were successful in realizing those targets. The other number is 69%. And the 69% also comes from the research team. The 69% actually indicates that when you compare the project that we did with for instance, the pilot project team in LINAC, if you compare that to 3 similar projects in the same organization, then in 69% of the cases, we created more impact than similar projects in the same organization. So this is just to give you an introduction to some of the credentials that Half Double already attained. And what is Half Double all about? Well, it's about the 3 core elements: impact, flow, and leadership. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because we are seeing these 3 core elements, impact, flow, and leadership, in both the project management methodology, But also in the portfolio approach, you will find that these three core elements are essential. So we're, in other words, making sure we are creating impact in the projects and in the portfolios that we run. We would like to attain a certain flow, a daily progression, or at least weekly progression in our projects and in our portfolio. And we also would like to make sure that we have a high level of leadership and a very engaged leadership commitment to the projects. So these are the three core elements that we are using in both the project approach, but also in the opportunity, also when we scale it to the portfolio approach as well. One of the main ideas about half double is, of course, that we would like to create double the impact in half the time. So what we actually favor when we do an actual half double project is to start the impact creation as soon as possible. So we try to accelerate the road to impact, and we try to create impact as soon as possible. I'm also telling you this because this is what we'll do in each of the individual projects that we will run with the half double approach. And that will, of course, have to be reflected in the way that we run our portfolio, because we would like to favor the projects that can create impact quicker in relation to projects that are not that impact given in the same time frame. So this mindset of being able to create impact and stakeholder satisfaction as quickly as possible will also be a very evident part of the whole portfolio concept. Having set these kind of introductory ideas about half double, I think we're ready to dive into the whole portfolio setup. So let me start with where most portfolios are today. And this is something that we realize when we consult companies trying to run portfolio. So some of the well-known pains that we see out there is the three bubbles that you see on the slide now. The first pain is that usually value creation would be pretty unclear in most portfolios. So it seems like everyone is busy and we are constantly burning off cost, but we are really not creating impact. That pain or that feeling that everyone is busy, but we're a little unsure about the actual value creation seems like a thing that most portfolio managers and leadership teams can recognize. The second pain that we often meet when we consult related to portfolios is that we would have too many projects at the same time. So we see systems of, well, we see the whole organizational system being overflowed with projects, too many projects at the same time. And it seems like it is harder to finish some of these projects, even though that a lot of projects are ongoing, getting started. So this whole idea about starting a lot of projects without having finished the projects that we're doing right now is very essential to the approach that you will see in a few minutes. So having too many projects at the same time, one of the well-known pains in most portfolios. The last pain that we usually see when we consult portfolio managers is that you would usually kind of experience a delay and distant board decisions. So you might have a great interaction with your steering committee in the project, but then the steering committee will have to report to a board, and the board usually meets, let's say, every once a month. So we will have to wait for decisions from the overall portfolio board. And then when we meet this portfolio board, they would usually have kind of a limited insight in the most specific projects. So there might be too many decision layers from the project to the portfolio. And that kind of delays that whole decision making. So these are some of the issues that we face out there. And what we would like to ask you guys would be, do you also experience these pains? It's nice that we see them, but do you also experience them? So to what extent do you actually experience these three pains in your organization? So we are launching a poll right now. And feel free to answer the poll. It is all anonymously, so no one will be dragged forward. This is just to kind of get a feel about how these pains reflect in your organizations out there. So let's try to see how this falls out. So please feel free and answer the poll, and I'll be quiet for just 2 seconds while you concentrate on the answering. Okay, it seems like a lot of you have finally have given your votes so far. We still see a few votes ticking in, and in a few seconds we will be sharing the results with all of you. So this is the result of the poll as it is right now. So if we look into the value creation is unclear. It seems that about 30% of you really recognize to a high extent this challenge, and as much as 54% of you would say to a medium extent. Then we have the top score, I guess, in running too many projects at the same time. About 67% of you have said that you really experience this issue. And if we look into the delayed and distant board decisions, there seems to be a consensus with 54% on the medium to medium extent you experience this. So definitely a high score on the experience on having too many projects at the same time. Also a tendency to have a little unclear picture of the value creation. Thank you very much for playing along on this poll. So the question of course remains, how can we solve this? And let me be totally honest with you. There is no silver bullet to this. There is no one easy way to do it. So what we've done with the half-double approach would be to give you a few pointers in direction about how to solve it. And you would need to, of course, adapt that to each organization and the specifics of the organization that you face. So let me give you a short introduction to the half-double portfolio approach. The main idea of the approach is what you will find below on this slide, the sentence saying faster to strategic impact with fewer projects and closer relationship to decision makers. That is how we propose to solve it. And I'm going to run through each of these elements one by one and also associate some of the tools that we use to try to solve it like this. So let me start with the first part of this. Let me start with the faster to strategic impact. What is that? Yeah, well, it's all about prioritizing the projects that you have with a reduced time to impact and high stakeholder satisfaction. So making sure that if the projects that you do will be the one that creates the most strategic impact. And how do you do that, you might ask? Well, we propose that the portfolio committee actually prioritize their projects using this grid. We actually propose that for each project they're running in their portfolio, they would assess what's the business value of this project, what's the time criticality of this project, what kind of risk will we reduce or what opportunity will we fulfill with this project, and then you will plus together the sum of these numbers, which will go from 1 to 21, and then you will have the time-weighted impact. The time-weighted impact will then be divided with the actual job size or the complexity of the project that you face, which will give you a portfolio weight. This number can help you to figure out which projects actually provide a pretty quick impact and which projects are very complex and might be a good idea to wait with. So taking this grid and putting it into an actual one-by-one grid, you'll get a picture looking something like this. So the bubble will represent how complex or how big the project is, and where the bubble is situated will actually position in terms of how much impact does it create and when is it ready to create impact. So as you can see, the bubble called great project would have a pretty high score in terms of weighted impact, and it will have quite a short time to impact creation, in this case, less than 6 months. The less favorable project that you will see in the grid here will be the one where you will have to wait 1.5 years for the first impact creation, and where you would actually have a low time weighted impact, meaning that the opportunity or the business impact or the time criticality will be pretty low on this project. So we use this grid to give an overview of how our total portfolio are set together and compiled. And bear in mind, this is not the single answer to which project should you start with and not start with, but it's actually an input to the dialogue about which project seems to be creating most impact in the shortest possible while. Then we combine that discussion with this perspective. This is what we call the portfolio impact map. It will give you an overview about which initiatives or which projects belong to which strategic themes. Because what you will see when you pile your portfolio up related to each of the strategic themes, then you might have a gap in some of the themes related to the projects that you would like to do. So one perspective on your portfolio is, of course, the impact creation, but another perspective on your portfolio would, of course, be how you realize the strategy of your organization. So making sure that you cover the most important themes with short-term, medium-term, and long-term orientation in terms of impact will, of course, matter to which projects you choose to prioritize. That's why we think that balancing these two views, the impact creation view and the strategic view, will of course be for the portfolio board to decide which projects are we then prioritizing as the most important ones and which one would we put on hold. So these two views will help them to do that. Then we move on to the next part. The next part is to get faster to the strategic impact, but do it with fewer projects at the same time. This is what we call a short and fat approach. So what we try to do with the short and fat approach is that we actually make sure that we only try to do 2 projects at the same time. Because if we do that, we will work more efficiently. So how does that play out in the portfolio? Well, let me give you one example of how it could play out. Here you would see the life cycle of a portfolio. You would see some of the ongoing new ideas that you would have in the funnel. They will be out there waiting to be picked up and started in the portfolio. That will be just before gate 1. Then you would have, after gate 1, an impact solution design process, which is the process where you actually take an overall great idea and break it down into smaller elements of impact. And you design your impact you design your project to create impact as soon as possible. So you involve quite a lot of stakeholders in that process, figuring out how can we slice and dice this project to make sure that it creates as much impact in as short time as possible. Then you would have a gate 2, where the projects that you have tailored for impact will be executed in sprints of, let's say, 6 months, maybe even 3 months. It could also be 9 months. Up to you, depending on what kind of execution time frame you think would fit your organization. And what we try to do with each of these phases would be to have only a limited number of projects ongoing at the same time. So in this case, you can see that only 6 projects can be in the impact solution right now, because that's what our capacity would be like at this point. And that's why we need to prioritize which projects do we want to start up and slice in the right way so that they can create impact. And in the execution slots, you would see that you have project 7 to project 18. Those are the slots available for execution. So you can only have this many projects, in this case, 12 projects running in execution at the same time. So that's how we try to approach it. We try to make very clear prioritization from the portfolio board's perspective on which projects are the most important for this organization, which would be the ones that we are running right now. And how do we then assess this number or this capability? Well, we start with our high caliber people. So we start by identifying the 20 best people, or what we would call star people or subject matter experts that are the most important ones that are part of all projects. So we start identifying those 20 people and we assign them to 40 different projects. So we only assign the top of our best people to make sure that they can participate in this case, 12 plus 6, meaning 18 projects that we had on the other page. So that's how we approach it. We only assign our key people. Because when we do that, we can actually figure out what's our capacity. And that's the secret, knowing your own capacity. That will limit you from doing too many projects at the same time. Then we get to the leadership part. And the leadership part is about having close relationship to the actual decision makers. So what we propose in this setup is to have committed leadership teams within inside who will actually have a maximum of 3 projects each. So in this case, we would actually suggest that the portfolio board would have, let's say that there are 5 people in the portfolio board, then they would have access to run 15 projects at the same time. They will each pick 3 projects each related to the strategic grid that you saw before and the impact grid that they think will be projects that are important to them and the business that they're creating. So having 3 projects each is actually what we favor, and then you would leave the rest to your great colleagues in the board. This also gives a cap on how many projects can we run at the same time. And the main idea here is really to make sure that the project owner, who will be part of the portfolio board, will also be part of each of the 3 projects. So this person will meet up in the project 2 hours every week to make sure that this project is on track and creating impact. And this person, the project owner, will also bring back whatever needs to be discussed in the portfolio board. This makes a very hands-on dialogue about the most important projects in the organization. Then you might ask, what about the rest of the projects? And that's a great question, because what about the rest of the projects? Well, what we think we would do is to make sure that the 5 people that you saw before will be in charge of the top 15 in this case. I know that on the slide it says top 20, but they'll be running the top 15 or the top 20, meaning the most important projects for this organization. Then you would have a similar portfolio board in each strategic business unit running their 20 projects, where they actually prioritize which key people will be running each of these 20 projects. So it's very much about building this up in a pyramid, and then you will let the rest of it go. You would have to set the basic layers free, because otherwise it will just be a very time-consuming resource capacity overview that you'll be doing, and you would need a system to do that. Allan will later give us an example of what kind of system can help us to do that, but you need to start top down when you do this exercise. At least that would be what we would favor. So far, so good. And I know that that this might be a kind of a crazy idea to some of the organizations around us and some of the organizations that you work in. But if you have questions, then feel free to write some of the questions in the Q&A button right now. And I will answer a few questions while we get ready for Allan to help us with the actual application of this into a project into a real life portfolio in GlobalConnect. So feel free to use the Q&A button if you have questions related to this. All right, you might be typing right now, which is totally fine. And if you do have questions, feel free. I see questions coming up. I'll get back to that. Feel free just to write your questions also along the session that we will be having with Allan, and we'll answer a few of them when we have time. Let's just try to answer one question right now. So how do you rate the impact of must-do compliance projects? I think that question is a great question in the terms that is a very obvious discussion that you usually would have in the organization. In this case, it will be the risk reduction or the opportunity part that will be the number of the impact creation of must-do projects. So in that case, the prioritization grid will help us to make sure that if you, for instance, give a 21 in the risk reduction part, then you would know that now you have actually, now you have a very important project in terms of compliance, and that would also help us to prioritize that project. Then there is another question about the individual SBU projects draw on the same resource pool as the strategic projects. So don't you need to manage that too? And that is totally correct. That's a question from Yannick. And of course, you would need to make sure that the resource pools are divided to each layer of the pyramid. So the case here is, of course, you need to reserve the resources that you're using for the top 20, and then you can fill up the rest of the SBU's portfolio with the rest of them. So that is the way you can approach that. I know it's not a perfect system, but at least it's a workable solution. Okay, I'll just do one more question. And there is one here. I find it difficult to chop up the projects in smaller impact bits. Do you have an advice to do that? And I think that's of course a thing that we're all struggling with. You know, how do we chop up our project into smaller bits? If you look into the half-double methodology, you will find ways to approach your project with a lot of different questions related to, first of all, how can we slice this project in terms of the product or the features that we're delivering? How can we slice it in terms of the processes that we are trying to create for this project? Can we introduce just one process before another? And the last part being, how can we slice it in terms of people? Meaning, would there be a segment that would be obvious to start using a minimum viable product to start with? So we have product, people, and processes that we use for slicing and chopping up our projects into smaller impact bits. And that will be something that goes on in the actual projects. And of course, that's where half-double will have to link to each other. If you use the methodology in the project, you would have to do that in order to get that input for the portfolio prioritization. So that definitely links together. Okay, I think that was a great start. I'll look into some of the questions while Allan will be presenting, and we'll answer a few more questions. But I think it's time for me to step back and let Allan join us here for his introduction to half doubling the portfolio and the GlobalConnect. So thank you so much for being here, Allan, and good luck in your presentation.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and of course, welcome for this great webinar. We have been delighted by Michael's speech, which is always an exciting moment. And today I'm going to present to you the half double for portfolio within a system and how this can be implemented into your own organization. A little bit before we can get started, I would like to give you a background about our organization. We are called Proactive. We are over 21 years within this market. We are now part of the Fellow Mind group. That means we are covering over 25 different offices within Europe with more than 1,250 fellows or employees. So said that, I will jump directly into the tool, but it will give you a little bit of an idea of how and what you're going to be seeing on this session. We are going to be showing an actual customer case and show you how you can learn from his challenges. Basically, how the implementation process works, and in combination of also how half double can be also slightly adjusted to your needs. You will also see a tool that fully supports the half double methodology for portfolio, which we have built together with the implement, and we are very proud of it. Okay? Remember, we are assuming you all already know a little bit of the half double for portfolio methodology, so I'm not going to be explaining the concepts, but I will be showing how it looks like in real life, okay? Moving on, we are showing, and again, just to tell you what is this presentation about, is the half double for portfolio approach. Everything you see on this presentation is 100% based on the half double for portfolio methodology. That means we did not start this from scratch. We actually built it on a long time ago when we started building several modules on top of the half double methodology. We are not going to be able to show all these modules to you. Instead, we are going to show you an actual customer case and how you can also select which module is the most important for your organization. Remember that there are several options, but maybe none of them, actually some of them will be the right ones for your organization. GlobalConnect customer case, just to give you an introduction about our customer, and basically GlobalConnect is a leading European technology and data communications provider. I think recently, 2 years ago, they started this digital transformation within their company, but they adopted the half double methodology to really help and stay on schedule with all that growth. At the time, the methodology, we actually needed to find a solution to really get their projects delivered and on budget. And the solution we found was the Microsoft platform. And that solution was the one we used to support the entire half double for portfolio methodology and provide clear visibility and control over the GlobalConnect projects. As a result, actually GlobalConnect is able today to streamline its process and actually reduce the hours spent on the project management side by 84%. Yes, that's incredible. So let's see how they do that, or how they did that. I would like to give an introduction of how everything started, because remember, if you just have a tool without how to be driven, that is actually going to cause you problems. You really need the concepts to back you up on which direction the tool should drive you. And that's how Half Double for Portfolio really plays an important part here. We did a very closely work together with several workshops where we identified and could see how the concept could match a realistic tool to really organize and structure that data. So just to give you an idea how everything started, and basically we got several templates or PowerPoints that were being and made as a tailor-made for GlobalConnect. Each one of those presentations or templates tell you a little bit of how the solution can help you to drive better projects. Pay attention of how all of this was built, of course, with a very care on the layout, on the visuals, and we also had to take care of that. All those templates were taken within our consideration before we started the tool. And you see the result that is actually quite impressive. We were able to match all those templates within the right solution. So all these templates had a very important thing, and when we started working with Implement on this project, the most important thing, and also from GlobalConnect part, we have actually Peter Cassones, who is the sponsor from the GlobalConnect side, giving us a statement by the end of this presentation, but the layout and the visuals were quite important. We had to be actually 100% fidelity within that layout and modern look like. So moving on, talking about the solution. Yes, we chose Microsoft. Microsoft is a leading within I think this field for many years, and you know, so we are using something called the Power Platform to really take care, which is under the Office 365 Microsoft tenant. I would like to actually start with a quick information, because a lot of people knows Microsoft project from the past. But Microsoft project has changed. It has actually been reborn and reimagined based on an extensive research done by Microsoft, completely adjusted for the future state of work and project management, and also completely delivered on the web. It is a 100% web tool, but most importantly is under the Microsoft platform, which is a safe place to be, and most organizations are actually on the Microsoft strategy in the cloud. I have a quick poll, so Patrick, please help me out. Does your organization already use Microsoft Office 365? And the poll should be open. Quite interesting to see the numbers just changing so fast. I will give you a few more seconds before I can reveal the results. I think we have reached a very good number, and as expected, every time I give this speech or when I'm talking about the Microsoft technologies, we see that over 75% already have the Microsoft Office 365 within the organization, and that's actually the number we got here. Over 75% have Microsoft Office 365. Back to the slides. So Microsoft Office 365 has something called the Microsoft Power Platform, which was built for the future because it used the concept of low code or no code. You don't need to actually be a developer to build something. You can be what we call the business or the citizen developer, where you are able to actually build things on top of dragging and dropping capabilities. And that is really, really important because you're able to bring business analytics, application development, and automation within this entire context. What we have done to really build the modern tool set for the project management was we embedded and we pushed Project for the Web, which is the modern project management tool within Microsoft Teams that gives you all the collaboration and what you need in order to deliver your projects collaboratively with your teams. We have data connectors and also AI builders that can supply us with prediction and algorithms that will give us some AI on top of that data. We are going to be talking about in a second. How GlobalConnect took advantage of this entire set of applications, they are the same as you guys. They already were part of the 75% that already has Office 365. You basically already, I think most of our customers already have the licenses that are required to implement the solution. They just need to connect the right pieces in the right time. And here you see a quick overview of how the solution look like. We have project as the main thing on top of the, I would say, this diagram. Then we go for something called the roadmaps and project for the web. This is where the scheduling is done and the visualization of the projects in a graphical view are presented. But now we connect the Office 365 groups and teams to enable collaboration and communication with projects. On top of that, the Power Platform gives us all the platform that is necessary in the robustness to build applications that will consume that data. We use Power BI to gain visibility on top of all of this, while Outlook plays a bigger role on data collection and feedback on surveys. Power Automate will allow us to build all the automation behind the scenes. Simple like that, most organizations already have all these components within their companies. Very important point to mention is everything you see here is fully accessible through Microsoft Teams. We built for the future. We want to work within the same platform in the same workspace, and that's why we chose Microsoft Teams with the Microsoft platform to be kind of the hub of everything. So you never need to leave your platform where you're communicating with your teams to really act and work with your projects. Moving on the solution, I have one more poll to actually to ask you guys. Does your organization have any system or solution to manage your portfolio of projects today? Why we? Here you go. We're almost there. Yeah, I think we can stop. And the result is less than 45% of the audience today has a system that actually, is the less than 45% of the audience already have a system that manages their projects. And that's a very good, and 38% said does not have any system, which gives us a very, very good number. So you guys that already has a system, if it's built on the Microsoft or not, it's also possible to actually integrate with the half-double methodology. Moving on. Now we look at how the system looks like. Basically, instead of working with Excel spreadsheets or working with, I would say, SharePoint lists, these tools, they were not meant to be portfolio and project management tools. So we actually have built something on top of the Power Platform that fully supports the half-double methodology. Clear visibility of all your projects with key performance indicators graphically showing you what is going wrong and how projects are being performed. Live connected charts. You can interact with those charts on the side to filter and analyze your data. All of this, like I mentioned, also works directly within the Microsoft Teams with all the same capabilities. Then we have used one other concept for the half-double methodology, which is the funnel chart view, where I can see how many projects are in my funnel, how many projects already passed at a specific stage, and that is giving you a very clear overview of how is the demand coming within your portfolio, and at the same time, I can interact with the system, acting and really taking decisions directly from the tool. We have took very big advantage of the execution slots concept of the half-double methodology. And in this view, you can see how you can configure how many slots you have available within a specific stage, giving you limits and also seeing the consumption of those slots. How is the consumption actually being impacted here? When a project is moving from one gate to another one, the calculation is done automatically by the system and giving you a dynamic overview of where you are not able to run projects anymore, like Michael has mentioned to us before. We have a very, very clear overview and simplified stage gate model with focus on impact, creation, speed, and execution. That means we are able to graphically visualize when your project is moving from a funnel to a DP1 or a gate approval to solution design and so on. The tool even comes with a criteria and requirements ability to actually pinned and become a guidance for the users, so you know exactly what to do within the right gate. The tool automatically adjusts this within your criteria and your requirements. This is an exceptional tool for adoption within your organization. Then we go for how all the data of my project is being presented. We have this summary overview where you have quick full access of all project information. But it's not only that, with interactive graphical components, you can drag and drop and dynamically change components within your project with very quick clicks, and also very visual components like a tree view to show and support our objective hierarchy. A slider of cost, which gives you a quick overview. Without looking the numbers, you see how far you are from achieving the end of that project. And a tailor-made layout for the components, and all the placements were extremely thought by our team to make it easier for you to input and dynamically change that data. Project status is something that we all take care of, and it's quite important. You need a clear and consolidated overview of your project status. And why not have that project status happening with one-click buttons, quick updates of that data? But not only that, we also built in the progress and insight tweets from the Project FW methodology that shows the top 3 latest updates with a limited amount of characters to be used, showing you precise and summarized information about your project. We introduced a concept called snapshot and history of your project status that allow us to now generate trend analysis and prediction algorithms on top of that data, which maybe in the future we can predict and tell that those projects that are 3 months in a row with a red KPI usually fails. Then, on top of the project status, we have a more detailed way of collecting that data, which is fully interactive with the system. And we also make sure that all of this follows the same and unified interface across the entire system. We use the impact case, like Michael has presented to us, with a very customizable grid that allows you to visualize the behavior and business impact with baseline and KPIs directly within the system. You don't need to go anywhere to see that information. Basically, all that information is clear and accessible to you. You can directly edit that information within our grid. Priority grid, I actually have a personal favorite on this specific module, but it's a tool that goes much more beyond the scientific evaluation of projects. Actually, it starts enabling dialogue within the organization. And this has been proven to be an exceptional solution and concept within our customers. Why? It's simpler, it's effective, and it's clear to everyone. And what people in our organization start seeing is the project managers starting really taking care of how they're building their business cases to ensure that they are going to be prioritized, giving you high quality of data directly within your system. What we actually built here, it's a modern layout with graphical visualizations, so you come and you can easily see how is the portfolio weight and each one of the impacts of that project. We also enable a track history of all the changes because priorities can change, and you can always roll back and track information on even on auditing on top of that information on priority grid. The priority grid is built with special components because, as you know, the methodology of FW use the Fibonacci concept to actually ensure that the calculations are done properly. So when you are inputting that data, you have all those components graphically for the users to input and give you the right information in the right time. We always have to think about mobility. So the entire solution you see here also works, and it's supported by all the mobile iOS or platforms within the market today. So basically you can not only read the information, but even interact. So I may be on my commute, on my train, and I would like to make an adjustment on my project. You can directly access that information and change it within your mobile app. MVP design, we also had to take care of the layout that was presented here. So the solution could not just show a simple list. So we took care of that, and we actually listened to either FW by Internet and our customer GlobalConnect to build a very graphical visualization with the MVP design, with a custom-made grid on a component that supports 100% the MVP design module with FW for methodology. Then how can you actually build realistic project plans? Excel has been there for many, many years, but what if you can use a worldwide famous schedule engine with a very modern layout to satisfy the users with a very, very interactive and modern interface, but at the same time giving realistic schedule planning, because behind the scenes, there is project for Microsoft. It's doing all the schedule here. And basically, I'm satisfying the users that are lovers of Excel with a grid view. I have the lovers of the, I would say, the agile methods or the boards or Kanban view with a board view. And pay attention, this is exactly the same plan. And I can now plan my sprints like I do in my favorite tools, just using board views and dragging and dropping those items within my sprints. And we can never forget about the traditional project managers that loves a Gantt chart, and also we call it a timeline view, which is fully interactive. You can drag and drop your projects, and we will always be actually rescheduling that project with dependencies and predecessors within that plan. So this is a game changer while you are planning your projects. It's a fully functional schedule engine within your hands, very simple and very modern. How we can take care of our resources. We know that most of the time, this is the biggest issue our corporations have. So we had to really stress us out and build something valuable for the project managers and the organization. But we can never forget to support the half double for portfolio methodology, which is what really drives us to the right place. Now we are using the high caliber resource within our team and getting a full overview and all the analysis of resources that are allocated to my project, what is the percentage of allocation and which profile they feed on. When the project managers come here, they know if, or the project leaders, they know if they are actually complied or not complied within our people and high caliber resource methodology. We are now introducing for GlobalConnect a capacity management tool. We are not only able to measure the allocation within the project, but also seeing in a cross line. So I can plan, like Michael has mentioned, maybe in 3 months, 6 months, or even a year ahead. You can now take care of that with a graphical visualization showing when your high caliber resources are over allocated, making it easier for you to drag and drop and reallocate resources within your organization. Always taking into consideration that this is being supported by a methodology that has been proven with researchers and will give you the right direction of how to optimize and actually manage your resources within your organization. Risks, not only this, but most of the companies has to manage risk. So the risk module has been added with a special touch because we also built our grid view that follows the half double methodology concept. So you're able to see which risks has more probability and most impact within a graphical visualization using our risk matrix chart. Post-check, my second, or maybe I'm still in doubt, one of my favorite modules on the half-double methodology. I call it, and actually the methodology calls the heart beating of the project, is a bi-weekly scheduled survey that is being sent to all stakeholders automatically to ensure that you are going to the right direction. Are these projects really bringing value to the organization, but now looking for a different perspective? The system here, we had to really do a big research to evaluate why people don't answer surveys and what can be the blockers for people to answer a survey. Maybe it's a system I need to install, I need to log in. Based on that information, of course, we give all the results with a graphical visualization and a timeline for the project managers with semi-anonymously data collection. That means we only refer to a specific role, but we don't give the name of the answers or the people who's answering that. But then we are using a very revolutionary feedback tool, which is called Outlook. Yes, why not take advantage of our famous and lovely Outlook? We connected our system with a very revolutionary method called Outlook Actionable Emails. Every week, the system sent emails to the stakeholders within that project, giving them information about the project, but asking key questions about that based on the post-check methodology supported by Half Double. This is lovely because there is no excuse for you to not answer because this comes directly within a system. It has a very attractive layout and simple to be answered. No one can actually skip answering our feedbacks. And this has been proven to get almost 100% answers within our system. Now we go for the reporting part, checking the time. Almost there. Reporting time is actually how we can really get the visibility of our projects. Our reports are meant and built to really give information based on what the customer is asking for. So how can I evaluate the projects that I'm running, giving a very comprehensive set of reports and dashboards within the system? We are not only looking at each project are actually being placed on each stage, but also how is the progress? What is the effort? What is the investment on that project? Is there any highly risk on that project? All of these in a very, very quick visualization. We also enable a way for you to evaluate the free slots and how projects are ongoing, how many spaces you have, how many of those spaces on the free slots are consumed or not. And here you can start building your mindset to really prioritize. It's the important part that a lot of methodologies make it so complex, have double, make it easier for us. With this idea, now we are building a mindset to really start prioritizing our projects, looking at which one of our stages or gates, how many available slots I have. That means if I fulfill the entire slot space for me, I cannot run any more projects. So I either remove one or I take a new one into the consideration. It gives us not only a graphical visualization on a timeline based on the stage and gate model, but also a highlighted KPI telling you if you are almost reaching your limit or if you have already reached your limit. We use also the strategy to really look at the impact based on the strategy of your organization. How many projects you're running on each one of those strategic pillars, and if they are delivering quick or faster results. Here is a quick way to translate what we saw in the concept with a live connected report for your organization. We go now for a more graphical visualization. I start building this mindset of prioritizing my projects, but when I come into this place where I really need to do my portfolio prioritization grid, there is no secret which project it actually has more value than others. I can clearly see all the projects based on their impact, the portfolio weight, and even other factors. Every time you change, we are able to even look at the history of changes of that prioritization, so you can try to understand why that specific project is now deprioritized compared to maybe last month. I have a poll right now, and please help me. How are project status reports and portfolio insights being generated in your organization today? I think that will be interesting to know because we have some revelations to tell of how those reports are actually being generated today. And a little bit more water. Yeah, that is actually a quite interesting poll. As we can see, we are now in around 80% on manually generated reports. And to be honest, this is the reality of everyone we've been talking to. If you do not have a tool that really supports this, it makes it difficult for you to spend time really building this solution. So you have to do the job, you have to deliver, you do it manually. I think we are almost done. Yep, 82% has done your reports and insights on a manually basis. And I will show you some numbers and facts in the end of this presentation, which shows how we could improve and reduce time spent on building those reports for GlobalConnect. Back to the... I also would like to show one more report because this is how we're actually building some of these status reports. I want you to look at the big picture right now, which is a live report built in Power BI. And I will show you how. You have to click, please, on the top corner. Oh, no, go back. In that top corner. Yes, look at this. This is exactly how the template was given to us. What we thought is, okay, this is how the project managers have to generate their status. Why not, if we just make this live with the same layout, giving and being compliant with the methodology? And that's exactly what we did. This is one of examples of I would say a template called DP1, which is used to be approved between a stage approval. And the same was done for other templates. If you look at the original template, how it was actually done and how it was actually provided to us. So if, yeah. Oops. Yep. This is the original template. This is building PowerPoint, but why not having that template live, connected with my report. And I'm not only talking about this mainframe, but also all the sub-reports with the impact case, with my impact checker one pager, which, by the way, one of my favorite reports, telling me with one page all the information related to my project, with the latest status, leadership status corner, all the answers from the survey on the post check, my prioritization and insight tweets in one unique page. This is really, really nice, and we try to match with the layout that the customer feel comfortable of using it. So you don't need to create this in PowerPoint anymore. You just come here and you can export it to PowerPoint. We have risk actions. We have done the key stakeholders overview, looking at which and how the stakeholders are playing within that specific project. The project organization, when you're starting a project, you can use this as a real life tool, all fully connected with our system. The MVP design, how I can easily communicate across my entire board how things are going to be delivered, which milestone and which delivery I have on each one of those delivers. Impact tracking, not only tracking what has been done on behavior and business impact, but also when you achieve that specific target, we highlight it for you that you have already achieved or you are almost achieving that specific target. Objective hierarchy, clear, making a clear overview of what are the objectives, the purpose, the success criteria, all live done within the system. Post-check, also giving you an overview of impact flow and leadership answers based on semi-anonymous data that shows not only which are the answers coming, but the average, and I can even see some extra comments if I need. Remember that this information is coming from your Outlook emails. Impact delivery milestone plan, how I'm planning my deliveries and sprints. And of course, we have now, I'm almost done with my time, actually 1 minute left. Some statements in why use the priority grid. You can actually share all these slides with you guys afterwards. But I would like to, first of all, thank you, Michael and Peter Kersanso, who is actually has been driving this with extraordinary competence and professionalism. We have one last slide where he's actually giving us his final words on the solution. Should we play it?
Hi, this is Peter Kerr from GlobalConnect. I'm very proud to announce that we, together with Proactive and Implement, have created a new portfolio management system for GlobalConnect based on the half-double framework. This new system is giving us new capabilities that we have not seen before. All the half-double documentation that we use for the portfolio meetings when we have to take gate decisions are now inserted and embedded into the system. This means that we don't use Word, Excel, or PowerPoint anymore. On top of that, we have also a real-time resource allocation system embedded, and this means that we can now take a look into the future and see if the resources are available when we have to reshuffle projects. Thank you, Proactive and Implement, for this fantastic system. I'm really looking forward for the new use cases that we're going to develop together in the future.
Really nice. Yep. I will invite my colleague.
Hi again, Alan. Actually, there was one question that came in that was actually addressing this. And let me just read this question here. How much time in percentage does the PM, meaning the project manager, spend on administrating and reporting on this solution? Do you have any numbers related to that?
Actually, we do have the numbers. I'm not ready if I'm allowed to share them right now. I can tell you that we reduced in 84% the time spent on building those reports and managing their projects. In order to maintain the system, actually the system is in the cloud. So you actually don't need any system maintenance or administrator, because once it's deployed, it will be running as soon as Microsoft is alive.
Okay. Then you actually have another question here, which is, can you consolidate sub-portfolios to enterprise portfolios?
Yes, we do support programs and portfolios within the system. We have not introduced it yet. Actually, it's part of the phase 2. We are already introducing for GlobalConnect the program capability, which is kind of a portfolio overview. So we can do that and link those projects together.
Okay, that is super. The rest of the questions will be more related to some of the things that I'll be addressing, but do you have more you would like to say right now?
I think that's most neat. I have one last question to everyone, which I think it's quite interesting, is Can you guess how long it takes to implement a solution or system that supports the half-double for portfolio methodology? That's my last poll, because I'm quite curious, and also I'm pretty sure you guys are also curious of how long it takes to implement the solution. Very good. That one I think I will wait to see a little bit. Yep. Let's stop. So can you get back so I can read the results were 15% believes it takes 2 days, 31% believes it takes 2 weeks, 44% believes it takes 2 months. But I actually have some surprising answer for you. To deploy this entire set, it will take 2 days. But that doesn't mean you're up and running, because then you need to adopt, and that will take minimum 2 weeks for you to understand, and also tailor-made for your organization. Within 2 months, you are able actually to start using it. But now when you start really taking full advantage and you're able to improve, it will take you around 2 years, because that's the time you're gonna take full benefit. It's 2 years taking benefits after 2 months investment on this specific tool. So thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Allan, for joining us in this session. And if more questions come in, feel free to use the Q&A, and I'll just use a little effort to try to relate to the few questions that are still there. So if you have questions for Allan, feel free to ask them. And the next question that I see here is the question about considering the short and fat concept. By chopping up projects to smaller bits, then each small bit will actually lose attention and strategic importance. So how can the consequences be addressed by keeping strategic focus on even the project in smaller bits? And this question is great in the sense that of course most strategies would entail the bigger package of a lot of impact bits. However, sometimes it seems that we can create the strategic impact by just delivering a few of the bits alone. And that is actually what the half-double approach are trying to work with. But having said that, it is what we try to make an active choice of the portfolio committee to decide this. So let's take one example. You have a project and you can chop it up into 4 bits of impact. The 2 first bits can be executed in the first 3 months. So you execute those 2 bits, and then the portfolio committee are saying, okay, we need to put in another project for the next 3 months. So now we will put the 2 bits that are still lacking, put them on hold for a while. And after 3 months, they will, execute the last 2 bits. So that is the way that we propose that the portfolio committee actually works very actively in prioritizing projects and the strategy that they would like to realize as much as possible. Having said that, of course, you will have this strategy challenge. So again, as I said in the start, it is not a silver bullet to how to solve everything, but it is certainly a way to get a much more dynamic and agile approach into your portfolio. Then we have another question, which I think is actually pretty interesting. And I would like to keep you here, Allan, because you've been part of this working together in GlobalConnect. So the question is here, how well have companies that you have worked with taken this approach into the organization? And what challenges have they experienced? And of course, this question really reflects, the challenge with this concept, because I think that when you see this, for most of you, it will make sense the way that we try to approach the portfolio. But I also think that you can sense the way how this hurt, in terms of being very strict on your prioritization, being very clear on which projects are our most important and which people work on which projects. So you have to be very clear in your strategy, and you have to be, very clear in your implementation of this. And what we have actually seen in the GlobalConnect case, just to give you an example, is that the system that Allan have helped to create together with GlobalConnect really provides kind of a stickiness to this approach. Because when everyone put in their input into the Microsoft setup, exactly into the Microsoft platform, then of course, you know, the stickiness of this and having all the data there is kind of a stickiness of the implementation as well. So that really helps a lot, and that is also why we in this case thought that the system could really help the implementation.
And if I can add one comment on top of that, is for many years we have seen people not really adopting the system because it's complicated, it's too slow, and the opposite side for GlobalConnect, they actually came with feedback that the system is really easy to use. It matches what they learn within the classes in half double, and it's actually providing them a lot of value by saving time. So a system that supports in a way that this platform can really add value and make your life easier helps you a lot and will actually eliminate a lot of those challenges within an implementation.
It does. And I just want to share one very interesting data point related to when the portfolio committee started working with this setup. So even though we had the system, even though we've been debating this for quite a while, of course, on our first prioritization meeting, we had to put too many projects into the pipeline. So, you know, it is again, not an easy way to approach it. But then we talked about, you know, the idea about having a limited number of projects is that this is what we're capable of doing. So, you know, what will happen to the 2 projects that we just put in? And everyone crossed their fingers and hoped for the best. 2 weeks later, when we met again, those 2 projects were still stuck. No one worked on them because there were no people assigned to it. So, you know, you get to the same point, whether you prioritize or not, projects are not being done if you just put them into the system, if no one is actually working on them. So I think that is also interesting that some of the organizations who run portfolio management today, by not making those active decisions, you just leave it to the rest of the organization to do those decisions. And of course, the system here helps us to be, you know, on top of those decisions as a portfolio board. Super. And then there is one last question, because we already answered the top one with the must-do compliance questions, and the 2 last questions would really be related to the breakdown of a long transformation program. So how do you break it down into a program? And I think that, you know, the simple answer to this is, when you have a program and you have broken it down into a few projects, then of course the projects will be, you know, the impact creation. So we will also try to break down the projects into smaller impact bits. So the answer here is really to align the impact that we create in the programs with the actual projects that we are doing. Having said that, the option here is not to do half double on the whole of your portfolio. And I think that some organizations still need long and thin projects because, you know, when you want to do, for instance, let's say a new IT project where you build the foundation, then you need to deliver it in the good old classic way. So you might still have some long and thin projects working together with your more agile, dynamic portfolio. So I think that kind of answers some of the questions that we've been through, and also think that you have been very patient listeners out there. So thank you very much for staying with us. And I think that I'll just use a few minutes to conclude on this session. Thank you very much, Allan.
Thank you guys. See you soon.
So if you can help me to change the slide, Patrick, then I will have a look at the last few summary slides, and here is the clicker. So thank you very much for staying along with us. Good. So we are getting closer to sharing the last part of the presentation with you guys. So here we are. What could be my inspiration for my next step? Patrick, could you help me to move it? Thank you. So in terms of inspiration for next step, first of all, you know, try to go into the halfdoubleInstitute.org And there you will find a little more information about the half double portfolio concept. You can also find a short video about it, but you can also dive into more details about the half double methodology. Because as some of the questions were related to here, of course, doing it in the actual project will be an important part of running this in the portfolio. So please feel free to search away on halfdoubleinstitute.org for the more specific handbook on this, on the 3 core elements of half double. Also, if you would like to know more about half double, it is actually a full, you can call it development muscle package. So if you would like to develop the way that you do projects, which we call the development muscle of your organization, then with half double, you have the opportunity of diving into the half double methodology for the project. You have the opportunity of diving into the half double portfolio. And you also have the opportunity to dive into the training setup that we have made related to half double. And in a very short time, on the other side of summer, you'll be able to join into the certification program related to half double as well. And that is actually one of our coming sessions. So if you, again, go into halfdoubleinstitute.org, under events, you will find these 2 upcoming webinars that you can attend if you would like to know more about half double certification levels, the 3 levels that we are introducing after summer, and the education leading to these certifications. And you can also hear more about half double research, which I very briefly touched upon in the start of this session. And you can hear Pia Sveivi from Aarhus University tell you about how they have evaluated the projects, how they have set up this whole evaluation. And I think that could be very inspiring, also seen from a project management office perspective. Quite a lot of inspiration to gain from that session. So I think what remains here is, of course, to say, if you would like to know more about half double in the portfolio, if you would like to hear more about the Microsoft platform solution, feel free to write me and Allan, and we will be happy to help you and also to provide you with materials if you would need some of that. So thank you so much for playing along, and thank you, Allan, who's please join me here. So take care out there, and thank you for taking the time to join our session.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.